In today's video, I will be focusing your attention on 10 practical English phrases that you gotta learn and use on a daily basis to take your English to the next level and sound like native speakers. Are you ready? Of course you are. So let's get focusing on these phrases. The first English phrase is to leave no stone unturned. To leave no stone unturned. You might be wondering what the meaning of this phrase is. To leave no stone unturned. What does it exactly mean when you leave no stone unturned? Well, to leave no stone unturned emphasizes the idea that you make every possible effort to find something, to achieve something, to achieve a goal. You do all that you can. You go all out. Go out of your way. Give your all to find something. You do everything you can, everything within your power to find something, get hold of something, or achieve a goal, or reach a goal. An example of this phrase. The detective left no stone unturned in his search for evidence. The detective left no stone unturned in his search for evidence. The detective left no stone unturned in his search for evidence, which means the detective made every possible effort to find evidence, to look for evidence. What about you? Have you ever left no stone unturned to find something or with the purpose of reaching a goal or achieving something? Comment the answer down below in the comment section. Now let's get to the next English phrase that native speakers use a lot, that you will hear them use a lot in movies and videos, that you gotta learn to be able to speak English in the exact same way as they do, which is to stick to your guns. To stick to your guns. To stick to your guns. What does it mean when you stick to your guns? Does this mean that you hold a gun in your hand and not let go of it? The answer is no. When you stick to your guns, you refuse to change your opinion on something, even when you're put under pressure. So to stick to your guns means to refuse to change your opinion or your position, even when put under pressure. An example of this phrase. Despite criticism, she stuck to her guns and defended her opinion. Despite criticism, she stuck to her guns and defended her opinion. Despite criticism, she stuck to her guns and defended her opinion, which means despite criticism, despite coming under pressure from everyone and everything, she did not change her opinion. She refused to change her opinion and defended it. What about you? Are you someone who sticks to their guns even when you come under pressure from others to change your opinion or to think differently? Comment the answer down below in the comment section. Now we're moving to the third English phrase that you gotta learn to be able to speak like native speakers, which is to separate the wheat from the chaff. To separate the wheat from the chaff. To separate the wheat from the chaff. When you separate the wheat from the chaff, you separate the valuable and important things from the unimportant and worthless ones. In other words, you try to distinguish or recognize valuable, important, and significant things from the unimportant, valueless, or worthless ones. Let me give you an example of this. The hiring process is tough because we need to separate the wheat from the chaff. The hiring process is tough because we need to separate the wheat from the chaff. Which means the hiring process is tough, is complicated, is difficult because we need to separate the wheat from the chaff. In other words, we need to separate the valuable and important people from the worthless and unimportant ones. Are you ready for the next English phrase that if you learn and also use, you've taken your English to the next level? It is nothing but the following phrase, to cast the first stone. To cast the first stone. To cast the first stone. I know, now you might be wondering what the meaning of cast the first stone is. You might be thinking to yourself, hey, what does this English teacher mean by cast the first stone? What is he talking about by saying to cast the first stone? Well, to cast the first stone means to criticize other people by ignoring your own faults and problems. So to cast the first stone emphasizes the idea that you criticize other people's problems, faults, and you criticize others while ignoring your own problems and faults. He accused her of being late, but he shouldn't cast the first stone. He's late himself all the time. He accused her of being late, but he shouldn't cast the first stone. He's late himself all the time. He accused her of being late, but he shouldn't cast the first stone. He's late himself all the time, which means he accused her of being late, but he shouldn't have done so. He shouldn't have cast the first stone because he himself is late all the time. He should not have criticized others while ignoring his own faults or his own problems and mistakes. What about you? Are you someone who casts the first stone, or do you know anyone around you who casts the first stone? Comment the answers down below, and I want you to tell me how you feel when they start casting the first stone. Or when was the very last time that you were the one that cast the first stone? Now we're proceeding to the next English phrase that, if you know your English, is wonderful, which is to cut to the chase. To cut to the chase. To cut to the chase. When you cut to the chase, you get straight to the main point without unnecessary details, without wasting time, without, wasting energy. You get to the main point. You focus everyone's attention on the main point that has to be dealt with, that has to be talked about, without wasting time on unnecessary or unimportant things. So that's the meaning of cut to the chase. An example of this phrase: we don't have much time, so let's cut to the chase. What's the main issue? We don't have enough time, so let's cut to the chase. What's the main issue? We don't have enough time, so let's cut to the chase. What's the main issue? Which means we don't have enough time, so what is the main problem? What is the main issue? Let's get straight to the main point without wasting time on unnecessary things, unimportant things. What is the main issue? What is the main problem? What about you? Are you someone who always cuts to the chase, or are you someone who wastes a lot of time on talking about unnecessary things? Comment the answer down below in the comment section. Now we're getting to the next phrase that you gotta learn and use to sound like native speakers, to take your English to the next level and make it look amazing, which is to toe the line. To toe the line. To toe the line. When you toe the line, you try to follow the rules. You try to abide by or comply with the rules. You try to go by the rules and the regulations. An example: employees are expected to toe the line and follow the company's policies. Employees are expected to toe the line and follow company's policies, meaning that the employees are expected to abide by the rules, comply with the rules, go by the rules, and follow the company's policies. Alright, now we're getting to the next phrase that you gotta learn to take your English to the next level and make it look amazing, which is to flog a dead horse. To flog a dead horse. To flog a dead horse. But what do I mean by flogging a dead horse? To flog a dead horse means to waste time, effort, and energy on doing something useless, on doing something that will not get you anywhere, on doing something that is not going to produce a positive result. So when you flog a dead horse, you do something that is no longer useful. You do something that will no longer do you any good, or you do something that will not get you anywhere. An example of this: trying to convince him to change his mind is like flogging a dead horse. Trying to convince him to change his mind is like flogging a dead horse. Trying to convince him to change his mind is like flogging a dead horse. Trying to convince him to change his mind is like flogging a dead horse, which means trying to convince him to change his mind is like doing something useless and pointless that is not going to get you anywhere. It's like wasting time, effort, and energy on something that is not going to produce any positive result, or something that is not going to get you anywhere. The next English phrase will surprise you because it might look a little bit strange, but it has a beautiful meaning, which is the proof of the pudding is in the eating. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. But what do I exactly mean by using this phrase, by saying that the proof of the pudding is in the eating? Well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating means you cannot know whether something is good or bad until you try it yourself, or you can only know whether something is good or bad after you've tried it. So you can find out whether something is good or bad by trying it, by doing it, by experiencing it. So the proof of the pudding is in the eating emphasizes the idea that you can only find out whether something is good or bad, positive or negative, by trying it, by doing it, by experiencing it. An example of this phrase: his new business model sounds good, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We'll see if it succeeds. His new business model sounds good, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We'll see if it succeeds. His new business model sounds good, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We'll see if it succeeds, which means his new business model sounds good, but we will find out whether it's good or bad by trying it, by doing it, by experiencing it after we have tried it. Now we got to move to the next English phrase, the 9th English phrase of today's video, that if you know, your English looks amazing, which is to be left out in the cold. To be left out in the cold. To be left out in the cold. When you're left out in the cold, you're ignored, you're neglected, or excluded. So to be left out in the cold emphasizes the idea that you're neglected, ignored, or excluded. An example of this phrase: many traditional businesses felt left out in the cold when online shopping took over. Many traditional businesses felt left out in the cold when online shopping took over. Many traditional businesses felt left out in the cold when online shopping took over, which means many traditional businesses felt excluded, neglected, and ignored when online shopping took over, became more popular, became more dominant, or dominated the market. And now we're getting to the final, the 10th phrase of today's video that you gotta learn to speak a fantastic and amazing English, which is to sweep something under the rug. To sweep something under the rug. To sweep something under the rug. When you sweep something under the rug, you try to hide or ignore a problem rather than deal with it, rather than try to solve it. Focus on solving it. So when you sweep something under the rug, you try to ignore or hide a problem rather than deal with it directly. An example of this phrase: the company tried to sweep the scandal under the rug, but the media exposed it. The company tried to sweep the scandal under the rug, but the media exposed it. The company tried to sweep the scandal under the rug, but the media exposed it. Which means the company tried to hide or ignore the scandal, but the media exposed it, revealed it, and disclosed it. And that's about all, guys. In today's video, you learned 10 beautiful English phrases that if from now onwards you use in your English conversations, your English will look amazing. Let's review these phrases once again together. Leave no stone unturned. Leave no stone unturned. Stick to your guns. Stick to your guns. Separate the wheat from the chaff. Separate the wheat from the chaff. Cast the first stone. Cast the first stone. Cut to the chase. Cut to the chase. Toe the line. Toe the line. Flog a dead horse. Flog a dead horse. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. Be left out in the cold. Be left out in the cold. Sweep something under the rug. Sweep something under the rug. And that's about all, guys. Thank you for watching today's video. Make sure you like this video in support of this channel and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll be back soon with another video.